Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester City versus Manchester United. It's the Premier League preview. With me, as always, is Mr. Joe Smith. Joe.
Hello.
I say, right, every single game, this is the big one, right? Whether it's a friendly against Fiorentina, it's the Europa League final, whatever, I say it. But they don't get much bigger than this. Manchester City is obviously a massive game. It's the Manchester derby. But right now, it feels like there's an opportunity here. Because City have been poor. They've lost 2 out of 3 games. United have been okay. But early on in this season, to get a big game like this, to potentially get a win away at the Etihad, could be huge, couldn't it, for Ruben Amorim?
It could be massive. And it's going to be the difference between the way that the next sort of chunk of games and the way that the season as a whole so far will be painted.
Yeah.
Because if you win this game, let's say either win or a draw with a good performance, you know, a solid, good performance with a decent result or very good result, you can look back at the season and go, you know, just the league, other than Arsenal, it's been all right. You know, if we win this game, you go, well, you know, we're 4 points ahead of Man City. We are, you know, one of the form teams in the league. Good results, good performance against Arsenal, good performance and win against City. You can really start to build a bit of momentum there going into that Chelsea game. The opposite is true though. If we lose, it's 1 win from 5, including the Grimsby game. And it's another loss, and it's another failure, and it's another this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden it's, well, we've got to win against Chelsea. You've got to start putting up, you know, you can't just play well and lose every week. Let's say we put in a decent performance and lose. Well, you can't do that, you know. And it becomes, the next game becomes a bit more desperate and a bit more desperate. And then all of a sudden you go into Brentford away, desperate for a win. Yeah. Otherwise the manager's on the rocks. Like, I really do think that this is a perfect game in that a spirited, a good performance and a draw would be accepted and is a good result. I know they haven't played and started particularly well, but going to the Etihad, you can't ever guarantee a win. But if we do get a good result, it can really be the start of something. I think it is, as the you know chapter says, a big moment. Because if you can get the footing right, you get the wheels on the road and actually turn these XG, these chances created, these shots, all these, you know, stats and data that we're toward the top of, turn that into a good performance and a win, massive for him, absolutely massive.
Yeah, you've spoken about it loads of times, and I think it's a really strong point about the whole narrative idea, about how things can build, about how the sort of almost the mindset throughout the entire club, whether that's pundits, whether it's the fan base, whether it's the media, and eventually it trickles down to the players as well. And a great example of that is the one with Ole. When Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when things started to go wrong, people looked at it, and all of a sudden, the manager that had just finished second and lost the Europa League final didn't look like someone who'd done well. It looked like someone who couldn't get you over the line, who couldn't take United to the next stage. And it's sort of that narrative built up, and you couldn't shake it off, could you? No. And it was weird because actually, when you look at it on paper and you go, that kind of form, you know, you probably take it right now. We sacked him when, okay, it wasn't great. I'm not going to pretend it was, but certainly we've had a lot worse form since then, and managers have kept the job. But it was that whole idea and that narrative had built that just Ole wasn't quite the guy. Yeah. And once that starts happening, it's difficult to shake it off, innit? So it's important that you can try and just sort of squash it. And this is a good chance to do that and sort of go, look, things are moving in the right direction. And if you can throw in, like you mentioned, performances and results, because the Arsenal game was a good performance, but the result wasn't, then this manager could be the right one, because let's face facts, we can't just keep sacking managers. We want to be able to buy into what Ruben Amorim's doing. And so far this season, I think there's been positive signs. This would be a massive, massive opportunity to carry that forward to the next stage. Let's talk about the main talking point from Ruben Amorim's press conference, and just in general, has been goalkeepers. There's been this debate going back and forward all week. People saying it should be Brian Day, people saying it should be Le Mans. I was watching Sky earlier and they were saying, oh, it should be Tom Heaton. However, Ruben Amorim has said it is going to be Brian Day, who starts at the Etihad. What do you make of that?
I get it. I don't know if I would have done that. I think I would have risked Le Mans personally. But I do get it. The thing with goalkeepers is, and the reason I would have risked it, is because obviously there is a difference between the speed of things and the pressing and the time you get on the ball and all that, and the odds of making a mistake are higher in the Premier League. But shots are shots. You know, I know Haaland maybe strikes the ball a bit cleaner than you know, whoever's let's say Strand Larsen for Wolves, right? But Strand Larsen can still put it in the corner. If you're going to make a mistake and it happens against Wolves or City, it's still a goal. It's still a disaster. And that's why being a goalkeeper is so hard, because obviously City may have more shots than a Wolves or whoever. But I just sort of think if you're mistake prone or you make mistakes a lot, whether that happens against Man City or against Wolves or West Ham or whoever, I don't think it's going to give you that much more leeway. Do you know what I mean? I think a couple of big mistakes in your first few performances, people are going to be questioning you regardless of who it's against. Obviously, saving a big game against a big rival is preferable, and Bayern kind of still has that Arsenal game on his CV where he saved the penalty and then did well in the shootout. But I would have just gone for it, and if he makes a mistake, so be it. But I don't want him to make a mistake next week anymore. Yeah. I'm not going to be any happier when he does it against Brentford than I am against Man City. So I get why he's going with Bayern just from a purely he's been here longer, Lomans isn't ready yet. But I just kind of think, well, yeah, but if he's mistake prone, it's going to come out in the wash either way.
I want you to forgive me.
Go on.
And I know I'm going to upset you here and anger you, and a lot of the viewers are going to be really disappointed in me. But I actually went on a Manchester City podcast the other week. And we spoke
on purpose.
I was conned. They said come on a Mancunian podcast, and I just thought it was going to be about United.
Yeah.
I didn't realise until it was too late.
You didn't know there was another team in Manchester?
I didn't even realise. I thought it was going to. When he said the other team, Manchester, I thought he meant Manchester reserves.
Yeah.
Manchester under 21s. I was just well annoyed. But we were talking about Claudio Bravo at Old Trafford. And do you remember that debut that was horrendous, and it was still a red card? I don't care what anyone says. And there was this narrative, he's not the right guy, and Pep's made a bit of a mistake here, getting rid of Joe Hart and bringing in Claudio Bravo. You also look at James Trafford at City as well. He's come in now as their number one, and he's had a bit of a stinker, and now they've gone out and bought Donnarumma. Would they have done that if he'd have had some really good games to start with? They might have done, because it's Donnarumma and he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world and he's just won the Champions League. But they might have gone, now we're all set, we're good. It might sometimes these sort of shaky starts can get into people's heads a little bit. So it is a bit of a funny one with goalkeepers, isn't it? Because there's no easy answer to this. Do you know what I mean? People forget Massimo Tahibi, who's sort of become a joke. A Tahibi is almost like it's like a description of anyone who flops. Yeah. He was man of the match at Anfield in his first game.
Exactly. And that wasn't enough to say, was it?
Then the next game, 5-0 I think it was at Chelsea, and he was at fault for about 4 goals, and obviously everyone remembers the Matt Le Tissier Southampton game. But it's that initial sort of start to his career that everyone talks about, because that was all he got. So it's really weird with goalkeepers, is the point I'm getting. It is really odd how people judge them, and it is a difficult position because you make a mistake as a striker. We've seen strikers have ropey debuts. We've seen Patrice Evra, even as a left back, have one of the worst debuts we'll ever see against Manchester City, subbed at half time, went on to become a club legend. Because you can get away with it when you're an outfield player. You can get subbed if you're that bad, the manager just go get him off. Or you might miss a chance and someone else will score, you end up winning anyway. If you're the goalkeeper and you're making mistakes, it can end up costing you the game. And that's why I understand where Ruben Amorim's coming from, because I think, long term he's looking at it and going, I need to make sure that Le Mans is okay. But if it was up to me, I agree with you, Joe. I probably would have gone with him. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think. Who would you have gone with? And do you agree with Ruben Amorim? Do you get where he's coming from? Just before we get to Predicted 11s, I want to remind everyone, we have launched our merchandise, Stretford Paddock merch. There's a link in the description. So go and check it out. Loads of new hoodies, T-shirts, all that good stuff there. You can go and check it out. Great response so far. So yeah, some good merch on offer there. Let's talk then about Predicted 11s.
Yeah.
We'll start with you, my friend.
So we got the news, didn't we? Cunha, Dalot and Mason Mount all unfit. I think Lissandro Martinez has read that he's not back either.
No.
So it's a team with that in mind. I've gone with Bayern in goal. Obviously, I think he's already told us that one. Then I've gone Euro, De Ligt and Shaw, keeping that same back three.
No need to change it.
I wouldn't change it personally now. There's a couple of different permutations of how this can go further forward. I've gone with Ahmad at right wing back, Dorgu at left wing back. I've stuck with Fernandes and Casemiro because I think Amorim likes it, and it did work well against Arsenal. And I think obviously City have got a good midfield, but I don't think it's sensational. I think they've got some good players, and I think Rodri's obviously excellent when he's at it. I think Reinders is a very good player as well, but I do think that with the extra players we've got sort of across the middle line with Dorgu and Ahmad there, Xerxes, and I've gone from Burma, as you can see, dropping back in a little bit. I think we should be able to cover that. I have gone with Xerxes instead of either switching Ahmad round or putting Bruno further forward, because they were my sort of few options. I just think Xerxes, his hold-up play, when we're trying to play out from the back very quickly, I think he can get the ball down, either flick it around the corner, lay it off to a Dorgu, or I can imagine Bayindir, spraying one straight up to Xerxes, down on his chest, back to Bruno, and Bruno plays a long one either through to Mbeumo or Sesko, that kind of up, back and through that people talk about all the time with the sort of build-up play. I think Xerxes does a better job of that than either putting Ahmad there or putting Bruno there. And then you still get to have Ahmad and Bruno in behind as well, helping with the setup. I think this is a big game for Sesko. We spoke about it at length. Him and Mbeumo linking up together. Sesko stretching the lines, quick counter-attacks, using his physicality and his speed. And the same for Mbeumo. He's sort of deceptively quick, Mbeumo, I think, because he's got that sort of stocky kind of body type. You don't imagine him to actually be quick across the ground, but he is. I think both in terms of his sort of those top speed metrics that you see. I think he was second so far in the league, and also just watching him when he knocks the ball at his feet, defenders don't catch him.
No.
Martial used to have that, young Martial, where you think he don't look that quick, but whenever he gets in front of someone, they don't get back in front of him.
Yeah.
And then obviously he lost some of that pace with injuries and age, but I think those two are going to be absolutely crucial. So Xerxes hold up play, and then Mbeumo and Sesko making those runs, those stretching runs in behind. I think that can work and be very effective against Man City, so I've gone for that.
I like that team.
Yeah.
I think that's a strong team. I do. I don't look at that team and think, what's he starting there for? Well, I'll be gutted if he starts or whatever. Yeah. I think I do have slight concerns that I've had all season about the midfield. Just the amount of legs in there. And he's not really favoured in that position, is he? He's better, for me, he's better as a 10. I think he's one of the best 10s in world football, but we get why he's been moved further back, and he can still be effective. Let's not pretend he's like some sort of duffer. So I get it. My team is slightly different. This is my predicted 11. This is who I think Ruben Amorim is going to go with. As you've mentioned there, we know the goalkeeper. I fully expect the back three to stay the same. I've put Nusayr Mazraoui at right wing back, and I've put Ahmad up near the top, just purely because we saw at the Etihad last season how effective he was, of just sort of nicking it off the defender, getting at him. And I think there might be an element of that in this game. I think City have looked vulnerable this season. We saw it against, was it Brighton? We saw it against Spurs. They looked a little bit all at sea at times, defensively. And I think Ahmad's the perfect person to punish you. If you're indecisive as a defender, he's on you. He's a nightmare to play against. You see it so many times where defenders, they look like they've got all the time in the world. They'll just take 1 second too long and he's on it and he'll nick the ball off you. He's rapid, and I think he never gives up as well. And I think him and Mbeumo, I agree with everything you've said about Brian Mbeumo, by the way. I think that's a great handful for the City's defence to cope with. And you throw in Benjamin Sesko. And also, if you pay 70 million quid or whatever for one of the best strikers in European football, he has to start in your biggest games. I get the Arsenal game was too soon, but there's no reason whatsoever he should not be starting at the Etihad. We don't want to buy these players so they can start against, no disrespect, but Brentford or whatever. Get him in for the big games. Get him in there. This is a player I've been dying to see. Let him start against Manchester City and show us what he's about. This is a game he's probably dying to play in. He'll revel in it. And also, City are on the ropes a little bit. Yeah, that front three, I think, would absolutely cause anyone problems, especially at misfiring Manchester City defence. In terms of wing back, I think Mazraoui, I know he's been injured, but he should be match fit. I think he can do a job there, and I agree with everything else you've said. I'd love to see Kobbie Mainoo in, but I don't think that's going to happen. No. I think he'll stick with the same midfield he's always stuck with. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know whether you agree with myself or Joe, or you've got your own Predicts 11. Before we get into Manchester City as well, make sure you get your phones out, you film yourself in landscape for 30 seconds and give us your score predictions. We've already got loads. We've been chatting to people, haven't we? Been getting a few score predictions, but you can have your score prediction as part of the pre-match build-up for the watch-along. I'm going to be here for that one, so make sure you send them in to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. That's paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Let's talk about these losers then, Manchester City. Some bloke called Erling Haaland who had an absolute stinker in the international break, didn't he?
Something like that.
Was it 5 goals against Moldova?
Yeah.
Pathetic.
Yeah. Is that it? I think he's got like 10 goals already this season. Only 3 and 3 in the
league. So
league.
glad we never spent 4 million quid on him a few years ago. Yeah. That would have been an absolute disaster.
No, he's back at it, and to be fair, last season was the only one where he's ever really dropped below a goal a game, basically. No. His whole career has been roughly a goal a game. He's obviously a fantastic striker. I think he didn't do as well last season, but he looks to be kind of back in it. Although what I will say is, Haaland starts every season very well. So it's probably not the best time to be playing Man City because he tends to start incredibly well and then either obviously just carry it on, or if he is going to have a dip, it's usually later on in the year when things sort of kind of start to tail off and he's lost a bit of that early season explosiveness. But we're playing against Man City, they're going to have good players, so you can't just pretend like or hope that they don't turn up. We have to nullify them and do our job properly and stop him, because other than him there has been a lot of underperformers so far for him. We'll get into the injuries in a second, but you look at the creative players. I think Cherki's already injured. I mean, we'll go through the full list in a second. Randy's looked incredible in that first game and looked a little bit, I don't want to say lost against Brighton because he was okay, but he didn't look a top player by any means in that game, and none of the City players did either. So I'm not picking on him particularly because I do think he's very good, but this is a City team that isn't the same City team from 2019, 2020. The likes of John Stones and Ruben Diaz, even though they are, you look at them on paper and you think, what are they, 31 and 30? The legs of John Stones, you can put another 5 or 6 years on him because he's had so many injuries down the years. It's been so chop and change in and out with his career. He's 31, but realistically, I'd be surprised if he has more than a year or two left at the top level. So I think United can exploit that. You look at their back line, you've either got Rico Lewis or Mateus Nunes as right wing back, or right back should I say. But again, I think we can get at both of them. It's a shame Cunha isn't there because I would trust him and really back him against either of those players. And then again, depending on who they've got in the middle, I know they've got a load of injuries. It will be interesting to see how we get on with them. If we can play quickly, find some of the gaps. I don't know if you saw Brighton's second goal in the last game. The gaps in the space in the middle of the defence was absurd. You never see Man City like that. Just completely wide open. There was 2 players running through this absolute chasm of space. And I think United's quick playing, winning the ball back in that midfield area, and quickly, like I said before, I'll say it again, this is my little prediction. Ball up to Xerxes' chest, down to Bruno, ball straight through the lines, and I can imagine a world where you've seen Sesko or Mbeumo with a couple of one-on-ones in this game. It's just whether we take them as it always is in these big games, because for so many of the last sort of 2 or 3 seasons, so many of the games in those seasons, we get the chances, we just don't take them. So that has to be the difference this time.
No, I completely agree. There's a lot has been made about Manchester City's injury record. I know you said we're going to talk about it. I think they are missing a few players. I think they've got obviously Omar Mamouche was the one they lost recently. Also, I mean, Nori, I think he's injured. Ryan Cherki. But even with the injuries they've still got a lot of quality there. They've still got a lot of players that are available. A lot of the first team players that are available. And I think it's been slightly over exaggerated, this injury crisis that City have got. It's like, oh my God, they're missing. The MEM were running stories about they're missing 11 players, and some of these players have, counting players like Calvin Phillips, like just shut up.
Yeah, Bettinelli and stuff. Like the main players that are out are Marmouche, Rico Lewis potentially, Kuzanov, Cherki, Savino, Gvardiol and Kovacic, which is quite a few, but there couldn't be a world where they all started anyway, because half of them play in the same position. So it is, hopefully we'll see. I think Oscar Bob didn't play particularly well against Brighton. Doku, obviously, I'm sure we're going to see him, and that might be an interesting one with him versus either Ahmad or versus Yoro on that side, because a Doku type player is maybe the one weakness Yoro has if he has one, but we'll see how we can handle him and see how he's sort of learned and adapted his game in the last 12 months. But we'll have to wait and see. I can imagine a world where City, Haaland is going to have chances. Every game he's had this season, the first half against Brighton, the first 2 games as well, he's had like big chances in the first few minutes and missed most of them so far. We have to make sure City don't start really well and blow us away, because the games that they have lost, it's been late goals. So we need to stick in there and sort of hold our ground before we can push on, I think.
Couldn't agree more. With all that being said then, my friend, give me your score prediction for United's trip to the Etihad.
I think it's going to be a draw. I don't think they're that good, but they, much like we have done in recent years, they have a bit about them. They're still Man City. They still finished 3rd, was it, last season?
Yeah, I think so.
And they've started poorly this season, but again, I think they've scored in all of their games. They've got Erling Haaland, so on average, he's probably going to score just because that's how his numbers tend to work. I think if we can nullify them, we could sneak on and get a win. But I'm going to go 1-1.
Did they score against Spurs? They didn't score against Spurs.
Yeah. It was 2-0. So,
but I still get your point though. I wasn't trying to be funny.
No, it's fair. Let's get it right. But I just think that there's goals in there.
Yeah.
And I think Haaland in particular did get a chance against Spurs.
No, he did. You're right. He does.
And yeah, we need to nullify him. And if we can, I think we can win. But I don't think we will. I think Haaland's going to score, and I think it's going to be 1-1. What are you thinking?
I think we'll win, you know. And I just do. I think we've got this. Yeah.
And what's it going to look like then? How are we going to win? What do you? You're talking quite confidently.
I just think there's goals in this United team. I know we haven't been free scoring this season because we didn't score against Arsenal, and we scored 1 against Fulham, which is hardly time to get the bunting out. And okay, we scored 3 against Burnley, but that doesn't mean we scored 3 goals against Burnley. We can't move for goals in our house.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real, we haven't been scoring those goals, but we've been creating a lot of chances. And when I see players like Mbeumo, and if we do get Ahmad at the right business end of the pitch, and if Sesko, we start to see the player that we know, the reason why we bought him, then I think there's goals there. Bruno's always good for a goal as well. Like, there's players in this team that can hurt anyone, and I think there's just waiting to click. It's not quite there yet, and this is the perfect chance. And I think Mbeumo's finding his stride at United. I do. I think we're beginning to see him. You keep mentioning it about him struggling against Calvin Bassey, and it's a fair point because he was good against Arsenal, wasn't great against Fulham. I don't think he was helped by Ahmad not having a great game on his other side either. I don't think that helped him because the amount of times he was looking for Ahmad and he'd either lose it or just wasn't there. When you need your wing back to help you out when you're struggling against a defender, so I don't think that helps him against. Look, it can't get much lower than Grimsby, I get it, but at least when he came on, he looked live and he got a goal. But Burnley, he looked good. Yeah, he did. And I think he's getting into it, and I think he's revelling in his time at United. He's playing with like someone who actually enjoys playing for Manchester United, and it's been a long time since I said that. So I'm gutted Mateus Cunha's not about, but I think Brian Mbeumo will step up. I think Mbeumo's going to score. I think United will win 2-1.
I'd love that.
Yeah, love that. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think. Don't forget as well to send your score predictions to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Don't forget as well to check out some of the merch. There's a link in the description too. It's going to be me, Ronaldo Brown, Ryan Hopper, and former Manchester United player Damani Mella here for the watch along. Because you're off on your travels, aren't you, Archie?
I'll be away, yeah.
But don't worry, Joe's going to be back very soon. I know you all miss him. Go and check him out on the Sloppy Joe's podcast. You know where to find me. That's been Joe Smith. I'm Jay Moy. This has been a preview. Manchester United going to the Etihad. Thanks for watching.